Good afternoon. The Subcommittee for Tactical Air and Land Forces meeting for the markup for the 2020 NDAA. I'd like to first start by thanking all the members, and certainly we were ready at 2 o'clock, but threw some votes in between. But we certainly appreciate your attendance in the hearings, the briefings that we've had this year, and certainly put together what I believe is an excellent package. And that follows up on the opening remarks when we first got together as a committee, talking about the bipartisan cooperation that helps keep our focus on what's truly important. A, to deliver the NDAA, and most importantly, to make sure that the readiness and modernization of our nation's air and land forces are prepared. The MARC today supports the department's budget requests, while at the same time increases our oversight of the department's largest, most complex, risky, and expensive programs. Our subcommittee equipment modernization and readiness challenges are complex and expensive. We all know that our forces need the finest equipment possible, but the delivery of new capabilities on cost, on schedule, does not always go according to plan. Thus, our oversight must be eager to protect American troops, American industry, and certainly the taxpayer. And in doing this, we often make those tough choices, managing risk based on facts and certainly shared judgment. Our judgment must be well-informed, so our subcommittee held 7 hearings and briefings that were providing the information we used to make this mark. We have proposed legislative provisions that would provide comprehensive oversight, improve weapon capabilities against peer and near-peer competitors, and address known or anticipated capability gaps that require significant long-term investment to overcome. I just want to highlight a few of those in this year mark. Increase oversight of the F-35 aircraft program, Block 4 upgrade, certainly something that we have been focused on the program as a whole, but this year the Block 4 is coming to much smoother focus. Our objective here is to ensure the program achieves real cost savings to the taxpayer while developing and fielding a much-needed fighter that both tactically and affordable. It's a statement, although not in the purview exactly of this committee, is certainly one that comes into play with the upfront cost of the capital program. This mark would also designate the F-15EX program as a major acquisition subprogram, requiring a documented acquisition strategy and program funding baseline. To support the new Air Force program, the committee requires a better understanding of the F-15C fleet recapitalization and the development of advanced 4th-generation aircraft for the F-15 to ensure transparency and effective congressional oversight. The third issue would address Marine Corps CH-53, or the King Stallion helicopter program, that has experienced technical problems and schedule delays. By requiring quarterly updates from the Navy on this program, progress, schedule, and costs, we will be able to further understand and monitor the aircraft's technical and managerial problems and help find effective solutions for the Navy and for the taxpayer. And finally, the committee has expressed its concern that the Army lacked a long-term aviation strategy that realistically aligns requirements, resources, both current and future capabilities. Therefore, this mark will require the Army to create an aviation strategy plan and modernization roadmap to ensure a cohesive, achievable, and affordable long-term plan for the Army's aviation program. This mark would also address several department program committee and members of interest. The Army CH-47F Chinook Block 2 development, indirect fire projection capabilities, and Iron Dome. Certainly the Humvee recapitalization and improved turbine engine program. The Air Force and Navy's mitigation and military aviation physiological episodes, the Air Force light attack, armed reconnaissance experimentation, and certainly as well as the military rotorcraft safety, hybrid electric air-powered vehicles, and propulsion systems. This is a thoughtful and bipartisan that emphasizes effective oversight and tactical capabilities to ensure that our forces are equipped with modern equipment for the modern multi-domain operations. And I am certainly proud of the committee that has done the work that we see here before us today, and I encourage all the members to support the mark. And finally, I want to thank our professional staff members, including Bill, Heath, Carla, Liz, Jesse, and Caroline. Thank you. Bringing us together, making sure that we understand is certainly appreciated. And with this, I yield to the ranking member, Mrs. Hartzler, for her opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank you for your leadership and helping move us forward, and once again, bipartisan manner and open manner, and we have a very good mark before us because of that and because of the good work, not only the committee members, but especially the staff members. And I, too, want to join you in thanking Bill Sudi and Jesse Tolleson and Heath Bope and Liz Drummond and Carolyn Curley and Carla Zapiri for all of your work to help bring this all together. I know we had hundreds of requests, and I think we've done a good job in meeting as many of those requests as possible, moving us forward. I want to associate myself with the chairman's comments, thanking the members of the subcommittee for your active participation, your valuable input into this mark. And the chairman has provided a detailed overview of the proposed mark, and I just wanted to cover a few specific areas of interest. In building the mark, the subcommittee conducted oversight on approximately $102 billion in program budget authority for fiscal year 2020. So think about that. It's a lot of money, and we've looked closely at these programs to make sure it's an investment that is wise for the taxpayer and good for the warfighter. And I believe this mark builds on the framework set by previous subcommittee action, addresses the importance of modernization, and works to ensure acquisition strategies are aligned with the National Defense Strategy. I'm particularly pleased with how the mark improves oversight of Air Force fighter force structure challenges. The Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Goldfein, has stated that, quote, "We're going to be a mix well into the 2030s of 4th gen and 5th gen fighters, and they complement each other. 1 + 1, 4th gen plus 5th gen, actually equals 3 fighters if they're used correctly because they each make each other better," end quote. It appears clear to me that we will need a highly capable mix of 4th and 5th generation aircraft complementing one another in order to meet the objectives of the National Defense Strategy. The mark rightfully supports and is committed to both the F-15EX and the F-35 programs. This will set the conditions to ensure the Air Force will field the needed high-low mix of 4th and 5th generation tactical fighters, enabling the delivery of required capacity while also continuing crucial investments of 5th generation capability. This is necessary because the F-15C fleet is on average 35 years old, with 2/3 of the fleet past its certified service life. The entire fleet is facing serious structural risks, and readiness goals are not being met. The F-15EX is the most expedient and cost-effective way to refresh 4th generation fighter capacity at lower operating costs and improve existing 4th generation fleet capabilities. Now, regarding the F-35 program, the mark authorizes economic order quantities for buying parts and material in bulk to achieve better cost savings. The F-35 Block 4 program has an initial estimated cost of $10.5 billion. Given the scope and complexity of this effort, the mark takes the necessary steps to improve oversight and transparency of this critically needed program. We all share concerns about rising F-35 operations and support costs affecting long-term affordability, which could result in lower procurement quantities in the out years, and we do not want that. The mark includes a provision that requires a joint service cost position and an independent cost estimate from the Cost Assessment and Program Evaluation Office to inform overall F-35 life cycle costs. This should provide us with what will be required from a resource perspective to ensure aircraft inventory objectives are fully realized. The mark appropriately directs the Army to focus on the requirements and acquisition strategies for providing critically needed vehicle active protection systems for combat vehicles. Given what we've learned from our subcommittee briefings and hearings regarding current and emerging threats, specifically The proliferation of anti-tank guided missiles and rocket-propelled grenades, I think this provision is needed and timely. I'm also pleased the MARC continues oversight of the department's plans and efforts to mitigate the physiological incidents in tactical aircraft and fully supports these activities. So as we do move forward, there's still major issues to be decided at the full committee level, including the question of overall funding levels this bill would provide to the Department of Defense. Senior commanders, including General Dunford, Secretary Mattis, and Acting Secretary Shanahan, have testified 3 to 5% real growth in the DoD budget is essential to maintain readiness, recovery, and our competitive edge over peer adversaries like Russia and China. I remain concerned about the overall defense top line and whether we are setting the right conditions for continued growth in the defense budget, and I hope that this can be addressed. But in summary, this is a good MARC that provides necessary oversight and accountability while also supporting critically needed modernization capability for the military services, and I encourage everyone's support of the MARC. And I yield back.
Thank you. We will now proceed to the markup of H.R. 2500 and National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2020. Without objection, the first reading of the bill is dispensed with. Copies of the subcommittee's MARC and directive report language were made available and distributed in members' offices on Friday, May 31st. Is there any discussion or questions on the subcommittee's MARC? If there's no further discussion, then the chair lays before the members the text of the subcommittee's MARC for consideration. Without objection, the MARC is open to amendment at any point. Oh, we will now. Okay. Are there any amendments to subcommittee MARC? Tab 5. The question now occurs on the adoption of the MARC. So many of those in favor will say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the MARC is adopted. The chair now recognizes the gentlewoman from New Mexico, Ms. Torres Small, for the purpose of a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the subcommittee report the MARC favorably to the full committee.
The question is on the motion of the gentlewoman from New Mexico, Ms. Torres Small. So many as are in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Hearing none, the quorum is present. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. And without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Without objection, the members will have 5 legislative days which to submit written statements into the record, so ordered. And I ask unanimous consent that the staff be authorized to make necessary conforming technical and clerical changes and to remove from the MARC provisions that would cause the MARC to be referred to other committees or would result in additional direct spending or would result in an earmark. Without objection, so ordered. With no further business before the committee, we stand adjourned. Thank you.